Hi, I'm Richard Friedman, and welcome to my video cartoon for July 16th, 2026. Here today we have Richard's Senator Adam Schiff, Democrat, California, intent. Here he is right here. There's Democratic Senator Schiff. Here he is at the confirmation hearing of acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, who is also President Trump's former attorney through all those cases that he went through. Okay, so there's Senator Adam Schiff, and here we have the Honorable Todd Blanche here, and here to read a letter is Senator Chuck Grassley, chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. He's going to read a letter at the conclusion of this Schiff questioning. It was a very thorough questioning that he gave Blanche here, and Blanche he weaved in and out. He through the waves, and I would say he got through it, but you decide. So this is where we're headed. I picked out a segment of it, an excerpt that I thought would be symbolic of the whole thing here, and it's just something I picked out, and you can't. There's so many important things that are very grave to this country. Like I don't want to neglect those things, but you just can't focus in on everything here, and I chose to do this, but I think you should all make sure that you see the second part of the confirmation hearing today on the Epstein situation there, and that's all I'm going to say about that, because I don't want to be a commentator, but I think every American should look at that and then decide for themselves how they want to take it. But I think that we all should take a good look at it, and that's the bottom line of what I'm going to say on that. And now here again is acting Attorney General Todd Blanche in here to make his stand on being the next Attorney General, defending himself, and from the questions here, Senator Adam Schiff. Okay, there's Adam Schiff here. Todd Blanche and Senator Chuck Grassley, Republican from Iowa, and chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Okay, so I laid the groundwork here at his Senate confirmation hearing for Attorney General. This excerpt on Schiff's allegations of Blanche's conflict of interest. So this theme here is a conflict of interest in the firings of a number of prosecutors were fired who were involved in the prosecution of now President Trump. Okay, so this is a number of them. As soon as President Trump took over, boom, first Pam Bondi was in there, and Pam Bondi, when she was questioned, said a lot of things Todd Blanche did that she didn't know about, and Todd Blanche now is saying other people. I looked through the whole thing. Other people are doing things that he didn't know about, that he didn't sign. He didn't know who put this together, but he signed it, thought it was the right thing to do, and you got a whole. It's an interesting thing to watch. So I try to take out what I thought was most symbolic and easy to present. Okay, and here it goes. The conflict of interest in the firings of prosecutors who were involved in the prosecution of now President Trump. And chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, Senator Chuck Grassley, Republican from Iowa, he basically, what he did is, after the interview, all these array of things, not just this, but he talked, as I said before, he talked about a lot of things that are very grave to this country. And after that conclusion of that, Chuck Grassley came up with this letter that he wrote out. He wrote and he read it to be part of the record. Okay? So let's have a go at it now. And here is, first off, I'm going to finish off with this. And first off, here is the dialogue that went on here. And here is Schiff here. Here's Adam Schiff. Here he goes on this segment. At CPAC a couple of months ago, you said the other things that are happening there is not a single man or woman. It says there are other things going on as well, but this is just a tidbit here. Not a single man or woman at the Department of Justice who had anything to do with those prosecutions, meaning the prosecution of the president. You're saying it is, and so you had anything to do with those prosecutions, meaning the prosecution of the president. Okay? You're saying it is not a conflict of interest. Okay? It is not a conflict of interest for you to be involved in the firing of prosecutors who prosecuted your client, your former client, President Donald Trump. Now, there's no conflict there. And Blanche responded by saying, he went like this. This was his word for word. He said, no, yes, there is a conflict, but I wasn't involved. It would be a conflict, basically, if he were involved. So he's saying, no, there is a conflict, but there's no conflict with me because I wasn't involved in the decision-making involving the firing of these prosecutors who were involved in some, either directly or indirectly, in the firing, in the investigation or prosecution of President Donald J. Trump during the interim here before he was reelected. Okay, so that's that. So now here he's saying, and then Schiff goes on here, and Schiff says, so at CPAC, here we go, Schiff, here he goes, you see, here he is, and Schiff goes, so at CPAC, which is the Conservative Political Action Conference, that's what CPAC stands for, Conservative Political Action Conference, you are taking credit for the firing of these Department of Justice lawyers. So he was at CPAC, and he mentioned that there ain't nobody there, man or woman, or any form of life, I'm adding that on, any form of life there that in any way prosecuted the president. Okay, so he said, you are taking credit for firing of these Department of Justice lawyers, but you're not willing to take responsibility before this committee. Is that the case? So he's not willing. So he's saying at this CPAC, he was all gung ho, and here he's saying, well, no, he wasn't involved in the firings, and there he was bragging about the firings. So this divergence here was brought up by Senator Adam Schiff. He brought up it's like saying basically that well, I don't want to use an analogy here because it's just there's no analogy to use. It's just very, very interesting thing. So here, what I have here is this. Here is Todd Blanche now saying this.
So I lived it every single day for 2 years, what was happening. And this country, the people in this room, they're the ones that infected change. They're the ones that said, no, you had a man that was indicted 6 separate times, counting the superseding indictments. And yet this country said, no way. So that was the first glimmer of hope that we can be better. The other things
he was talking about the election of President Trump in 2024.
Man or woman at the Department of Justice who had anything to do with those prosecutions.
How many have been canned?
Over 200. Over 200 either left before we came in because they knew it was coming or were fired or took early retirement. They are no longer employed by this department.
Okay, so there it is. That's what he said, you know. I mean, that's how you said they were fired on the basis of the fact, and these people were basically doing their job. They didn't go out to say, "Oh, we're going to get President Trump." This was part of their job. They were directed by their superiors to do this. And so these people are being fired for doing their job. So now what happens in the future when somebody's asked to do something to do their job, they don't know down the road if they're going to be fired for doing their job. So there it is. There it was. And what Blanche said his response to, you're not willing to take responsibility for this committee. Is that the case? He said, no, there is a statement I gave at CPAC. So that was the statement he just gave at CPAC. That's the statement. See, he said he didn't say it because it was just a statement that he made. I mean, there you go. Okay. And then Schiff responds here, and here goes Schiff here, and he answers him back here, and he says this. He says, you were bragging about this at CPAC, okay? You were bragging at this at CPAC, the firing of these prosecutors, the getting rid of everyone who investigated your client, meaning President Donald Trump now. You were proud of that, speaking for the Department of Justice, but you don't think that is a conflict of interest. So it's clear that Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche does not think it was a conflict of interest because, again, there is a statement I gave at CPAC. So he was making a statement as if to say, well, I was making a statement for somebody else. I don't know. I don't know what you could say about that. So anyway, so that was it. Now we bring up here, following this exchange, I mentioned that Senator Schiff brought up other areas of grave concern. Now today, I just glimpsed at a moment where a young girl was telling about what she went through and the things that she went through that were released that she was very upset about. She was practically in tears, I noticed that Senator Grassley was sitting there like, he wasn't looking too happy. Let's put it that way. And so that it was very poignant to see this girl who what she went through. I think we all should take a look. You should take a look at that and see what her plight was and what she went through. But I'm not going to go any further than that because I'm focused on what went on here in this video that I'm doing. But you should all take a look at that. And here is now, after all this stuff, because he did cover, like I said, the Epstein stuff and other stuff with the slush fund that were going to people who had broken into the Capitol, the funds that were going to possibly could have gone to them, and all these things that he covered. And after all of that, here goes Senator Grassley. He goes and says, I am entering this letter of support into the official committee record. So he says he's entering this report. There he was, reading the report here. Here is Senator Grassley here, chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee. Here he is. Okay. And he's saying here, he's reading this letter. This is from somebody who sent him a letter. I don't want to mention the name because that's not the point here. The point is to show that Grassley is gonna bring up anything he could to negate the what just went on here between Todd Blanche and Senator Adam Schiff. So he's going to try to negate that, and it's clearly timing to release this letter right after that because he knew that Schiff was going to take some hard shots. So let's put it that way, okay? So here you have it. Here it is, and I'm going to read the letter here. And here goes Grassley. I am entering this letter of support into the official committee record. Dear Senator Grassley, here he goes. This is the letter, and here's how it went. Okay, and here he's reading this letter here. And here he goes. I am writing to offer my strongest possible endorsement of Todd Blanche for the position of Attorney General of the United States. I do so with full knowledge of the weight this nomination carries and with a firm conviction grounded in decades of personal experience, that Todd Blanche is precisely the right person to lead the Department of Justice at this critical moment in our nation's history. Okay? So there it was, and it's interesting that he knew the timing there. You got to give it. You got for as old as Grassley is, he had good timing. He knew that Schiff here was going to give Blanche the third degree on all those things, and he was ready with the letter. And there was the letter, and there he went reading it. Another look at, there's Todd Blanche here, Honorable Todd Blanche, and here is Mr. Grassley, Chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee, and there is Senator Adam Schiff here. Okay, Senator Adam Schiff. There they were. Honorable Todd Blanche and Mr. Chuck Grassley, Chairman. All right, folks. Thank you for watching my video. Hang in there through these tough times, and I'll see you next time. Take care, folks. Bye.